Hey everybody, welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not News, your favorite podcast about fake news.
There you go. Don't forget that part. It's real important.
I'm Beth.
And I'm Elizabeth.
How you doing today?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
You broke my heart.
Oh, man. Gonna be with the waterworks over here. and guilt trip.
Oh, honey.
Guilt trip and waterworks.
This is just the start of the guilt trip. I booked you a first class ticket. Why don't you tell our lovely listeners what I'm complaining about?
This is going to be my last show.
Okay. So
I love you.
I love you too. So Elizabeth is going to be moving on to different adventures. And we are going to, I say we, but I guess it's just me left. I'm going to miss her incredibly because she's added a ton to this podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been so much fun.
It has been. And I get it. This is a time commitment that can be rough. So don't be too sad. The podcast is going to continue. I have looked deep into my soul and decided that I can still make this happen. So I think what I'm going to do is take the month of December off for a little winter break and celebrate Christmas and things like that with my family and regroup. I've already in talks with some people who are interested in a new co-host. So I'm going to be doing some co-host interviewing, I guess you can call it. And then I'll be back in January with some new episodes, and I'm going to fervently try and beg Elizabeth to come back every once in a while and chat with us, at least as a guest.
I might be bribed with fig jam.
Oh, perfect. I have lots of fig jam. And I am not above using it for bribery. No, but I'm thinking about, what if there was more than one co-host that kind of rotated or things like that, or like having on guest hosts, from different people, if some of the people I'm talking to, if more than one fit the bill. And so I think it could easily be something where if she's available and misses it desperately,
or just some real good fake news
as much as we miss her. Oh yeah. She's gonna start seeing articles and she's gonna be like, Beth, I need to talk about this. And I'll be like, well,
busy with some other
podcast.
News, some other.
Oh, I read that yesterday.
No, but I think that I'm really excited for you, actually. I think that it sounds like a cool idea, to have like rotating people to change it up. And I think it sounds really good.
Yeah. And not saying that is what's going to happen. That's just a possibility. But there is that possibility out there. So this will be our last episode of the year, basically, is what I'm saying. And your last episode of hearing Elizabeth's lovely tones for at least a while until I can beg her to come back for a guest host. So I thought I should send you off with something light to talk about and fluffy.
Yeah, right.
And but the world said, fuck no. Instead, we're going to talk about sexual assault today.
Yeah, because that's all everyone talks about these days. It's a good thing, right? But it's
good that it's being talked about.
Yeah. Yes. Let's clarify.
Let's just say that,
No, it's a great thing that the #MeToo campaign going, and people have they have the strength and support to come out feeling empowered and awesome. Why? Oh, why? What the hell was Al Franken?
Well, we're going to talk about him today.
Oh, gosh.
I feel like I say this in so many episodes, but it just blows my mind that there's fake news about this. I mean, sexual assault is bad enough on its own. Why do we have to throw fake news into there? Not surprisingly, I guess it was pretty damn easy for us to come up with enough content for an episode today.
I'm starting to kind of feel like fake news is just like the spice of life, and that everything gets fake news attached to it.
Like maybe it's not real unless you have your fake news counterpart.
Right.
Like you haven't made it big unless there's some fake news going on about it. Okay, so let's dive in here to Al Franken. So the first one I want to talk about is a Snopes article, and it's called "Did Franken Photog Say Groping Image Was Staged?" So a fake quote ostensibly. Elizabeth, how am I going to be able to pronounce things without you? Jesus. All right. A fake quote
ostensibly
uttered by the photographer who took the infamous image. Jesus Christ.
Now you know that one.
Can you just read this paragraph? Do you have the article up? Can you just put me out of my misery right now?
I'm looking at, did Franken Photog say grouping? Oh, look at that grouping.
I feel like you just did that to make me feel better.
So apparently the answer to your question is no. I cannot. So I'm looking at the right one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, here it is. Yes. A fake quote ostensibly uttered by the photographer who took the infamous image of Senator Al Franken and Leanne Tweeden was circulated in November 20.
Okay. So what this says is that the photographer said the moment was staged. And this is the picture of Al Franken with his hands on Leanne Tweeden's chest. She's sleeping.
I'm not shaking my head at you. I'm shaking my head at him.
Yeah. So he has said it was a bad joke. He looks at that picture now and he's disgusted. I think probably everybody listening to this has seen that picture, but just in case you haven't, that's the picture that we're talking about. The photographer said that it was staged, that Leanne Tweeden was just plain dead, and that she wanted him to revive her. So that's fake. That is not true. Person who posted this on Twitter is named Aiden Benjamin. He also posted that, oh so helpfully, that Leanne Tweeden is a Trump supporter. And let's just state right now, sexual assault is not political. It's not partisan, and it doesn't matter. Democrat, Republican, Independent, even Green Party. It doesn't matter.
So, and then he also posted this picture of her posing in a swimsuit, which she did, I believe that when she was on that tour, it was because she was a Playboy model, if I'm correct, right?
So she was on the sports show.
But I think it was before she was a sportscaster. She was
she's done Playboy and done lots of.
So I believe that she was on this USO tour. It's my understanding in that capacity as
a sexy
person, a sexy person. Like that's yes. Her thing. That's her claim to fame. Like I guess he thought that was funny. Like I'm groping this Playboy model,
Right.
So you don't get to use her body as a prop for your comedy.
Right.
Just because her beauty is how she was making a living. So you don't get to do that. And but the thing is what he's doing, it's not right, but she's not a 14-year-old girl outside of a courthouse.
Don't worry.
You're a person in authority.
We'll get there.
Not one of these things is not like the other,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. But
yeah, so anyway, he doesn't get to use her body as a prop for sure, 100%, even if this is what she does for a living. So just right off the bat, you're trying to shame her.
Exactly. And to throw a little conspiracy theory in there that, hey, she's a Trump supporter, so she must be doing this against Franken in order to do something political.
Well, now, I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure that's a conspiracy theory.
What do you mean?
I know we have this article in there, and I agree with that other article.
Okay, well, we'll talk about that when it comes up.
Okay.
So put a pin in that. We're going to come back to it. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So Benjamin, this guy who posted it, claims that he's a writer of Real News, Real Facts, all capitalized, which is a very big red flag right there.
It's the bigger the font,
Yeah, right.
the more real it is, right?
Right. That's how it works. So he didn't have any source to back it up. And when somebody asked for a source, he actually quoted Al Franken's statement, which that doesn't make any sense. And in actuality, the photographer is unknown. So there's no way that this person that they said this could have said it. It's just completely made up, totally untrue. To be honest, I don't care if Leanne Tweeden is a Republican or Democrat or whatever. If I had gotten my picture taken like this, I would have been upset too. And I don't care if it was a Democrat or Republican that did it.
Yeah.
Because that's not the point. And although I agree that it's not like he's like, he's not like handling her breasts. He still is touching her. And it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And it's made to make fun of her.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is through a Kevlar vest. So he's not making any skin to skin contact with her. But it's just not appropriate.
No, it's not appropriate.
Yeah, he's using her body in a way that is without her consent because she's clearly asleep. Like she's got that dead look on her face like she's asleep. And I'd heard about this too, right? When this was all first coming out, I heard he was groping her walking and I went, ew. And then I heard, oh no, there's some reports that she was playing dead or something and he was reviving her. And I thought, but he's already made a statement that said, yeah, that's what I did. Like right off the bat, he did. So it was very confusing. And so when you sent me this, I'm like, oh, so that's why that rumor was going around about that. And so it's all from this one guy on Twitter?
Yeah, and he's had issues before with spreading some false stories. So if you happen to be following Aiden Benjamin, go ahead and just unfollow him. It's at Aiden Haggy, AIDENHAGI. Not a reliable source of information and obviously spreading some propaganda / conspiracy theories in order, granted, for liberals. I get it, but that doesn't make it right and it doesn't make it helpful. Yeah. It's not helpful at all. And when it comes to sexual assault, I just have the hardest no line. Like, no, none of it's okay. So you want to talk about that article that you were talking about? Let's go back to our pen.
Weaponizedpolitics.com.
I have some stuff to say about this. This is a blog. This blog post was posted on November 16th. That's the day that this blog was started.
Oh.
The guy who started it, I went and double checked today. He has posted every single day since then. And he is, go over to this really quick. Oh, it says weaponize politics because the only way to win this fight is to attain parity. When they go low, we go low too. His About Us, weaponized politics is the inevitable backlash that has resulted from one side of the American political spectrum presenting alternative facts, while the other side busies itself trying to debunk these spurious assertions. We did not need give credence and due diligence to the Comet Ping Pong Pizza sex ring story. Our mission at Weaponized Politics is to immediately call bullshit. That's all capitalized too. When something is obviously bullshit. So I just found it really ironic that this person started this blog to basically address this and has gone from there. End of rant.
Okay. No, I mean, I hear all that. I hear it. But looking at the content of it, this is what he's saying in this article. Okay. He is pointing out that, well, first it starts off with a picture of Miss Tweeden at, is she at Mar-a-Lago in here, or is it just some random Trump golf club?
Who knows? Don't they all look the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, gilded room.
Gilded room.
Lots of tassels.
Yeah. She works at, KAB 790 AN, which is apparently a far right radio station. And he goes on to talk about how far right it is, and that she's a frequent commentator on Sean Hannity.
Right.
And oh yes, so here's a line. She has also been a guest at one of Donald Trump's golf courses at least once, and probably more than that. So he's probably referencing that photograph. So she is someone.
So he does say
who
Tweeden is not only a Republican, but the vicious style of Republican with a dark enough soul to find her way into the belly of the beast itself. I mean, he does have a way with words. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he does. He does. Yeah. So that's a little speculation there. Not proper journalism.
Oh, this is
sure.
all. Yeah, this is a blog, so it's his right to speculate.
Yeah, I mean exactly. And those are true things, right? She's a Trump supporter. She lives in that world, that far right world, and my thought is that this happened to her. She has a right to feel the way she does. She has a right to come out. And Al Franken needs to be brought to task for this, just like everyone on the right who's done it. Okay. None of that is changing, but there's most definitely a political side to what she's doing. Absolutely. So I don't think someone like that does something like this, comes out in something like this against someone on the other side without having conversations with people on the right about it and when to do it and all of that. It's not like these people accusing Roy Moore, who talked to journalists and decided to make their statements. And again, believer, support her right to come out, but I see what you're doing. And he did it, right? So he's going to have to take whatever repercussions come from that. And that's on him. You were fucking with someone like that, and
I just feel like
you knew it at the time
Al
too.
Franken right now? Like, there was nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Why?
That's the only thing though that where I don't see it as this is a political thing. She happens to be a Republican and he happens to be a Democrat. You don't choose who sexually assaults you. It's just like the same with the Roy Moore allegations, which we'll get into a little more later, where a lot of the allegations out there are that these women are Democrats and this Republican. Well, you don't choose who sexually assaults you. So you don't get to stop them and be like, I'm sorry, what's your political affiliation? Because in 10 years, when I want to publicly announce that you sexually assaulted me, I don't want it to seem like it's because of your politics.
Well, so it could be that all of this is coming up and she's had this dark thing that she's been kind of carrying around with her. And, maybe she decided, hey, I want to come out too. I feel empowered now and I want to do this. And it could be totally pure and no ideology, but I really if you read that, just because of the type of person that she seems to be.
If you read her story about why she decided to say it, it's because she had a Democratic congresswoman on her show who talked about her experience. The same type of thing when she was a staffer, somebody kissed her against her will. Leanne Tweeden said it was like, oh, that's what happened to me too. And that's why she felt like, you know what, I'm going to come forward and I'm going to say it. And I will say, like, with all the people that are coming forward right now, they have said like this Harvey Weinstein has been like the opening of the gates. All these people are pouring out now going, happened to me too. Here's who did it, and calling out all these men. So I guess if there was something going on where like Al Franken was in an election, was doing something that was going to make a difference, I can't see anything where Al Franken was in a crossroads where he needed support pulled from him by the Republicans.
I just think that the Senate is really right now.
It is. Yes.
And I think that you use the ammunition that you have.
Maybe.
And if she's, and that might, her story, what she said about that incident might be, I just don't think that there's any way that politics doesn't play into her calculus.
Yeah. Anything else in this article you want to talk about?
No, I'm good. Is there anything other you want to talk about?
It does mention that about the Roger Stone stuff. Oh, update. Recent have come to light, which proposed Roger Stone had advanced knowledge of the above scandal. I will say this. You mentioned earlier that, you would discuss it with other people before you bring it forward. I'm trying to remember from what I read. I think Roger Stone has something to do with the company that she works at. If I was a radio show host and I was going to make a public accusation against a sitting senator of sexual assault, yeah, I'd probably let my HR in on that. Like you would let your company know that this bombshell involving you was about to take place. This is going to be a huge distraction at work. You may not even be able to come to work. I don't know that her talking about it with somebody connected with her work beforehand is a huge indicator for me.
Did you read this article from The Hill saying Stone appeared to know Franken allegation was coming?
Yeah, I think he tweeted about it before, like the day before, like Al Franken's reckoning is something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like the result of some nice private HR conversations regarding employment.
Yeah. Well, maybe she went beyond HR. Anyway, speaking of tweets, this is a different one here. This is from the Daily Beast. And I went ahead and pulled them up on Media Bias Fact Check because I don't think we reviewed an article from them before. They do have a left bias. Their factual reporting is high. They've been accused of being biased in reporting, of favoring Hillary Clinton. But they do typically source the info in their reports, and they have a high factual rating.
Yeah, reality has a liberal bias.
Yeah, right.
Or say it again.
This sucks. It says, wait, what? A Twitter account with 2 fake IDs accused a Democrat of assault. Then pro-Trump sites ran with it. Linda Flores emerged on Twitter to allege that she was assaulted by Senator Richard Blumenthal. He denies it, and she may not actually exist. So this was a fake Twitter account that was created solely to a sitting senator, a Democrat, of sexual assault. Talk amongst yourselves.
Of course. Of course a pro-Trump website's going to run with that. They don't care about truth.
Yeah, right. So a quick search shows that the account ripped off bio photos of women in Texas and London and misspelled the name of the accuser's Connecticut hometown. The account was quickly shut down once the accusation went viral on right-wing media, and then the user emerged to claim she'd been hacked. After that, the account was suspended.
We see this all the time with this fake news stuff. How duped would we be if these people took a minute to use proper grammar or spell things properly? It's always something that's really obvious.
It's so gross. I mean, sexual assault is so serious, and to have somebody using that as a way to create fake news. I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised because of all of the stuff about the child porn ring and the pizza place. I mean, I guess this has been done before. But, with a lot of fake news, you're not messing with somebody's livelihood, their life, their reputation. I guess, now that I think about it, like Swift boating and John Kerry, all of that stuff. And heck, most of the stuff said about Hillary Clinton, is just all just such crap. And that has messed with all of our livelihoods at this point because it's affected the presidential elections. But it just grosses me out.
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't surprise me, though.
What would surprise us at this point? Should I be surprised by Breitbart's reaction to the Roy Moore allegations?
I wasn't surprised, but I was shocked at how vociferously they defend
this is their mission.
The pedophile.
I pulled up 4 articles, just 4 out of the 20s at least, that they've written so far. So I'm just going to read you some headlines. Exclusive, Roy Moore. Gloria Allred's refusal to release yearbook proves allegations are completely untrue. Exclusive, Mother of Roy Moore accuser. Washington Post reporters convinced my daughter to go public.
That's the article right there.
We'll come back. Let's put a pin in that. Ned Ryan on Roy Moore. I strongly suspect somebody out of the McConnell camp planted the story. Okay, so they're getting even crazier. Exclusive. Stepson of Roy Moore accuser. Accusations 100% a lie. Let's talk about these real quick. I don't want to get too deep into these because then I won't be able to sleep tonight. But so in this first one where he says the refusal of the yearbook proves the allegations are completely untrue, yeah, they just basically back him up in that. They agree with him 100%. It's like, is it even his signature? They didn't mention a divorce that she had. Who cares? None of that has to do with the fact that he sexually assaulted her when she was a teenager. The Washington Post one, we have an article that goes over, we'll talk about that National Review article, or basically it says like, so the Washington Post reporters were doing their job.
Yeah. When the Slate
I really love,
article.
Actually, I really like the one out of left field where they say McConnell planted the story, because this shows how desperate they are.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting. All of these Breitbart articles, they do have an aura of desperation about them.
Yeah. This is, I mean, they are they're literally throwing anything they can at this.
Grasping anything.
The stepson. So this piece of shit stepson of this woman who was sexually assaulted by Roy Moore is like, oh, it couldn't happen because I didn't know about it. And that's just so weird that my stepmom wouldn't tell me about being sexually assaulted as a teenager, but she told my dad? Yeah. She told her husband and not the child. That's actually good job, Mom. That's the appropriate response.
Yeah. You don't talk to children about this. That would be inappropriate.
And he's like older and they've only been married for 13 years. So it's not like she raised him. This is something like she came into his life when he was already an adult. So you don't sit him down and be like, now in about 10 years, the man that sexually assaulted me when I was a teenager is going to run for the Senate. So there's something that you need to know.
Yeah.
No. So it's funny because we weren't the only ones who noticed that Breitbart was being especially zealous about these Roy Moore allegations. So we have a couple articles. Do you want to take those?
Yeah. So you want to talk about the Salon first?
Oh, the Slate. We have a Slate article.
Slate. Excuse me. Yes, Slate. So Slate. So how Breitbart is covering the Roy Moore accusations by Jesus Christ. No, it's not actually by Jesus Christ. It's by
I wanted you to take this article because I didn't want to say the name. No, just kidding.
Nice.
My going away present to you. Say that name.
Ozita
Nwanu. Just so our listeners know what we're trying. This is the person who wrote the article, and the first name is spelled Osita, which Osita is probably right. The last name is Nwanevu.
So Osita is a badass writing articles at Slate, and I mean absolutely no disrespect for her. I am just really bad at pronouncing names. And it seems like recently I've just got a slew. And this is one. I didn't even see it. It snuck up on me. So I wasn't even looking. I just, just thinking, oh, bye. Oh, yeah. Okay. So.
And this article is from November 14th. And I guess I should go back and say so the one about the yearbook was from November 17th. The one about the Washington Post was from November 12th. The one from the McConnell camp is from the 17th. And then the stepson one is from the 16th. So, and like I said, I only pulled 4. There was so many. And so she wrote this on the 14th, and 3 of our articles that I pulled were after this. Like, that's how many they've written.
So I really like this article. So she just starts off by saying, one can say at least this for Breitbart's post Monday latest sexual misconduct allegation against Republican Alabama Senate candidate Roy Moore. It does accurately relay the details of accuser Beverly Young Nelson's account.
Right.
and it's true, and it is accurate. It talks about the Gloria Allred, and it says what reads here. Well, it says Allred also pursued a lawsuit against then presidential candidate Donald Trump, representing 3 women who claimed they sexually assaulted him. At the same time the suit was filed, Allred was also serving as a delegate for Hillary Clinton at the DNC.
Yeah.
So then it says that what reads here is a naked and lame deflection to people unsettled by the facts of the controversy. Yeah.
It talks too about this appearance that Joel Pollack from Breitbart did on MSNBC Live with Ali Velshi. And I actually saw this live.
That's right. I remember you talking about it.
So Pollack, this is the transcript in the article. It says, Pollack, you said yourself at the start of the segment, he's being accused of relationship with teenagers. To me, that's not accurate. In fact, it's following in a narrative that the Post tried to set up. Velshi says, but it is teenagers. It's a 14-year-old, a 16-year-old, and I think 2 18-year-olds. They're teenagers. Yeah.
By definition.
By reality.
Yeah.
Pollack says the 16-year-old and the 18-year-old have no business in that story because these are women of legal age of consent at the time, which is referencing that in Alabama, the legal age of consent is 16. So the argument early on, when it was only 4 accusers and not like a million, is that only one of them was for consent.
And that's the problem legally. Otherwise, it should be just fine.
Was so gross. And I even tweeted, go Ali! Like, he was not having it with him. So gross.
Yeah. I mean, it's just they take these facts and then twist things around and try to turn it on its head. It's just the most devious, horrible publication.
They are. So just to show that we're not super biased, we're a little biased.
Yeah, we're pretty biased.
Okay. But when we find good reporting, we'll talk about it because we have another article from the National Review, which is a very conservative magazine. This is actually...
Before we go on, just real quick, I just want to talk about this last little bit here about how it says here the other 2 exclusives from Breitbart contain excerpts with an interview Nancy Wells, Leah Korfman's, and talking about how she talked to Breitbart, and the piece implies that Korfman did not have a phone in her bedroom and couldn't have talked to Moore from it. The piece implies that this alleged inconsistency is fatal for a story that, quote, relies heavily on Korfman's and her ability to recount events consistently.
Right.
And so if Breitbart reporters turn up evidence that she misremembered or fabricated a key fact in her story, then they would have a scoop. And so
I read, I think it was in a different article, but basically the mom was saying that the daughter didn't have a phone in her room, but the family phone could reach her room. So, I mean, here's the thing. Let me read this. It says here that Moore undressed her when she was 14 years old and placed her hand on his underwear.
Yeah.
I think she's going to remember that pretty damn clearly versus, what room she had to stretch the phone to so that her mother wouldn't hear her on the phone.
Yeah, and let me just read to you what it says. This is a quote from the Breitbart piece, okay? Korfman's mother told Breitbart News that the reporters for the Washington Post convinced her daughter to give them. She did not go to them, said Wells. They called her. They tried to convince her to do it, this reporter asked. Yes, replied Wells matter-of-factly. Wells was asked about Korfman's motivations for going public. Quote, it wasn't done for politics, Wells replied. It was done for personal reasons, and it wouldn't have been done if the reporters hadn't contacted my daughter. End quote. Okay? And so what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, well, she wouldn't have done it if someone hadn't approached her and talked her into it.
Well, you have to read the next sentence.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to touch on this before we moved on to the next article, because I just love the next sentence. And so Osita says, Breitbart's bewilderment at some of the basic processes of journalism is understandable. So the journalist went and approached the girl or the woman.
Yeah.
And
they were doing investigative journalism.
Yeah, and they talked to her, and she eventually decided to come forward and decided to talk to them, after they approached her. That's how it works.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with it, but just the way they're presenting it, they're like,
well, she says it's understandable because this is, after all, a publication that dedicates a considerable amount of space to lauding the activities and pronouncements of its own executive chairman, Steve Bannon, who has evidently taken a break from issuing warnings about the degradation of Western values to defend an accused pedophile. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's understandable that they don't understand the basic processes of journalism.
Okay, so now we can move on to the National Review.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So I really like this article for a couple of reasons, but one is that we don't generally get to review articles from a conservative magazine that has a high factual rating by MediaBack.
Not a whole lot of those out there.
Yeah, it has a right bias, but a high factual rating. It has a right-wing bias, but is well-sourced and mostly factual with news. So this says 2 reporters are in Alabama trying to discredit Roy Moore. They haven't found much. So this talks about how basically Breitbart dispatched these 2 reporters. And this, I'll go back real quick. This is by Theodore Cuthbert and was written on November 14th. So Aaron Klein and Matthew Boyle are the 2 reporters that have been dispatched by Breitbart to go down to Alabama on a mission to defend Moore and discredit the bombshell Post report. And their work is already bearing fruit. Just yesterday, they broke a whopping 4 stories each, with headlines beginning with a breathless exclusive, which 3 of the 4 I pulled said that. So it says, step aside, Bob and Carl. 2 new gunslingers just wrote in. So Bob and Carl would be the Washington Post reporters that broke the story. So they go through, let's see here.
Right.
They talked to Nancy Wells that she didn't have a phone in her room. This is where I read it. So Wells, Corrigan's mother, was asked by Breitbart News, back then, did she have her own phone in her room or something? No, she replied, matter-of-factly, but the phone in the house could get through to her easily.
She probably had one of those, do you remember those really long cords? Yeah. Like, you'd have your phone on the wall, and, like, the cord just kept getting longer and longer and longer.
Because you stretched it out.
And then it would, like, wrap up on some of this whole big thing. That's kind of what I picture.
That's exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm sure as a teenager, she knew where she could stretch the phone to have some privacy to talk to her friends. I used to do that. Sit on our basement stairs with the phone cord stretched around the corner.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You stretch that thing further and further and further.
Exactly. This quote here says, Boyle and Klein have become Steve Bannon's tools, which means they are property of whatever ludicrous candidate Bannon backs. Basically, it's talking about how these guys are just like Bannon's beck and call to go out and find whatever they can dig up on whoever they're trying to discredit that day.
Yeah. I wonder how they feel about that.
I would think they feel okay because they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They can't be getting paid so much that they couldn't replace these jobs if they felt like they were not doing the right thing in their lives.
So not okay for Milo. Just fine for him.
Right. Well, Milo wasn't straight.
Right.
So there's probably that.
Well, and wasn't a pet candidate of Steve Bannon for a very important. Yeah. Lots of.
This article has a couple of zingers too. It says, he insinuates that Korfman's troubled background, she's had 3 divorces, bankruptcies, and a history of drug abuse, cast doubt on her ability to remember what happened back in 79. Divorces and bankruptcies? ? Incriminating? ? Klein might have skipped some editorial meetings. And it does say maybe there really was a time when these scribes had true journalistic ambitions. Both edited their student newspapers, and Boyle even got an MA in journalism from American University. But whatever their aspirations once were, Boyle and Klein have become Steve Bannon's tools, which means they're the property of whatever ludicrous candidate Bannon backs. And this week, it's little girls. So this article was actually pretty good. They only went to the right at the very end. It says, if Bannon wins, the Republican Party will resemble a more sinister version of the Democrats circa 1996. On second thought, maybe we should be thankful that he keeps Klein and Boyle around. So at the very end, they had to give up their right bias spin on it.
Yeah, it's still not good enough for the people in the comments section.
Right. What'd you find in there? You love the comments.
Yeah, I know, and I should just stay out of here.
You find some good stuff, though.
Yeah, it's just one of my favorite here is, so is this national reporter in search of the truth, or is he just doing a hit piece on Breitbart? Never let it be forgotten that in our preferred Hillary to Trump and ideological purity over the nation itself, Breitbart pulled the nation back from the precipice.
Yeah, I think that National Review is more on the side of Mitch McConnell than Hillary Clinton.
Well, a lot of conservatives actually were not on the side of Trump for sure, because they're not down with what he's putting out there. I think a lot of conservatives did vote for Hillary Clinton, but not enough apparently.
When I read this, you are definitely seeing a split in the Republican Party that's happening. Yeah. They are infighting. I think as Democrats, we can say, well, welcome to our world. We have been infighting for years. So I saw this article on Media Bias Fact Check that I just thought was really interesting. It's called False Charges of Fake News Are Harming Our Free Press. And this was written on November 19th. Oh, geez. I thought that was going to say Glenn. I'm like, this is going to be an easy name. No, Gleb. Gleb. And Persky. Tsipurski. And this is talking about the front-runner candidate for the Alabama Senate seat is Republican Roy Moore. And he called the Washington Post fake news after they published a thorough investigation reporting on sexual encounters between Moore and multiple teenage girls, one as young as 14. And they say his attack on this highly reputable newspaper are part of a recent broader pattern of prominent public figures using the label of fake news to announce quality investigative journalism that reveals corruption and abuse of power. And this is posing an urgent and systematic danger to our democracy as they encourage corruption and abuse of power by undermining credible media reporting on such. And I think one thing I wanted to go back to Al Franken real quick. I know it wasn't a newspaper that published it, but he has never said that Leanne, he's never stooped to that or said that people aren't telling the truth. Even the allegations that have come out since that he touched people's butts, he's come out and said, I don't remember that, but I don't doubt what they're saying. I'm sorry for how they felt from that encounter. I thought I was just giving it a friendly hug, which, that is a whole different issue. He has not said anybody's lying. Well, I guess the only thing he said was not true was that one lady said that he put his hand on her butt and that in order to get out of there, she said, oh, I need to go to the bathroom. And he said, do you want me to come with you? And he was like, no, I would have never asked to go to the bathroom with someone. So he said that wasn't true, but that is a big difference in how he has handled these accusations and how Roy Moore has handled this by calling the Washington Post fake news and by saying that the accusers are lying. Just everything he said.
Yeah, absolutely. Just world apart. Yeah. And this is what they do. This is what Donald Trump does. Roy Moore is acting in the same vein. These aren't people of integrity.
No. I'm sick and tired of the Washington Post or the New York Times or actual journalism fake news. There's even a backlash starting over the word fake news, where people are starting to say, I don't want to hear that word in, because what they mean is they don't want to hear it applied to real news, which I totally agree. But there is still fake news out there, so I don't think we can stop talking about it, and we can't stop using that word. But yes, it should absolutely stop in reference to real journalism. So this was a good article, and we'll put up the link. And then we just have one more. just round it out, start and stop. What's Snopes today? You want to take this one? Your last article?
Yeah. So this is an article on Snow entitled, "Was Stephen Hawking Accused of Sexual Misconduct?" Reports that the famous theoretical physicist had been accused of sexual impropriety originated from a hoax article. And so the claim is false, and it's reporting that amidst a slew of reports alleging sexual assault by prominent people, a fake news article appearing to report that distinguished physicist Stephen Hawking had been accused of sexual misconduct was published to a website, sitsetdigital.com, and it reports that a former student of Hawking accused him of this, and the accuser, who was 22 at the time of the incident, claims that Hawking took advantage. She says, "Although it's very old, the memory still haunts me. I felt so powerless for so long because he's so intimidating and held in such high stature. No one would believe me." And the article was published without any indication that it was a piece of satire. And the website is not known for publishing fake news, which is why.
Yeah, so it's kind of a different one.
Which is why some of its readers apparently believed it, right? So,
right, because you reputable news source.
Yeah. And so it says, to its credit, when it was discovered, they quickly deleted it and replaced it with an explanation as to how it appeared on their website. And to quote them, "This is absolutely fake news. The website was abused by another contributor and used to peddle fake news," saying they were shocked to find this out. And the contributor's been removed. They apologize for the breach and no way support this type of satire, as it ruins the credibility of serious accusations.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's, it's kind of gross because it's the joke is on Dr. Hawking.
Right.
Yeah. And
so, I mean, not funny to start with.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, funny. How is he going to sexually?
Yeah,
I know that
not funny.
You wanted to do this one, like kind of a little bit of a lighter round it out, but as I'm like reading it, like, yeah. Kind of...
Okay, well, I have something else to round it out with. Then this just came up on Twitter. Breaking news: Time magazine has disputed Donald Trump's claim that he was being considered for Time Person of the Year and turned it down. They were like, basically said he's fucking cuckoo. We don't know what he's talking about. It's not how it works.
Yeah. So I read that really briefly. And so is this another instance of him just lying and about something that's easily verifiable? And they're just saying, no, that didn't happen.
So he put out a tweet that said, "Time magazine called me to say I was probably going to be named person in parentheses of the year, like last year, but I would have to agree to an interview and major photo shoot. I said, probably is no good and took a pass. Thanks anyway." And they were like, "We don't know what he's talking about." I think there's two possibilities here. One, his staff told him that Time called and said, "You're probably going to be man of the year again. But due to your schedule, we had to pass," as a way to circumvent the fact that he wasn't going to be man of the year again.
Oh.
Other possibility, he lied.
Either one of those.
Either
one sounds totally plausible, because there's no way that he would not sit down for that.
Right? Exactly.
Like, that universe doesn't exist.
No.
Okay. So I like that first one, actually. I actually like that first one a lot. I think that plays very nicely into my ideas of what it's like in the White House. A lot of stroking this narcissist ego.
Yes.
To keep him happy.
Exactly. Yeah. Their official tweet said, "The president is incorrect about how we choose person of the year. Time does not comment on our choice until publication, which is December 6th. So basically, there's a poll that they do with readers, and Trump is currently number 3. It sounds like they don't even know who person of the year is really until it's time for it to be published, like, because they do this poll and take the results. So anyway, that's a little bit lighter.
So it looks like, just FYI, that I'm looking at skepticreview.com. I just saw Twitter. They have an article that says Twitter has fun with Time Magazine and Donald Trump. And so it looks like someone has put his face on top of like a wedding gown. It says Russian Bride of the Year.
Oh my gosh. Nice.
Oh, and with some other kind of fun stuff. So
yeah, that's what everybody's
think,
tweeting about right now. So
yeah.
Fun stuff. So, hey, if you liked this episode, you can follow us at Twitter or Facebook at Podcast Fake News. You can email us at podcastfakenews@gmail.com. If you have hate mail for Elizabeth, I will forward it to her. Do not worry. You could support the show by going to our Patreon page and signing up to give us $1 a month or something like that. $1 an episode.
Give Beth $1 an episode.
I'm still going to say we. You're still here until I have you for the next 5 minutes. You are not released yet. I don't know. What else do we have to say at the end?
Spread jam.
Not lies.